Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Liverpool preview. We're playing the Scousers again. And joining me is my old mucker, Adam McCullough. Macker, how we doing, mate?
All good, man. All good. FA Cup weekend. Not feeling as nervous as I was for the Premier League one. But I love these games.
I love this game. I love these games, especially when we're doing all right and the Scousers are absolutely struggling. We're recording this the day after they've just been beaten in the Premier League off Burnley. I mean, mate, what was that like?
Sean Dyche, absolutely. You know what's amazing when you look at the results that they have had over recent weeks and the teams that they've dropped points against, and then you look at Pogba's goal against Burnley and some of the big, the Pogba's goal against Fulham, like they drop points against those teams, and we're managing to win them late on or with big individual performances. So it's good to see. But even though we're 6 points clear of them, like, there's so many teams now that are just coming up in between them. It's a strange one. It's really strange. But I've had a look at the fixtures. I've done some computing, and I think we're going to be all right.
We're going to be all right, mate. You said that to me in 2014, though.
Don't worry, James. Moisey's got it in the bag.
We've turned the corner, son. We'll be all right. Trust me.
I had a weird image once. Remember, was it you that I told, Jay, when I was like in Germany the day Evra scored, and I went, I've seen this image of David Moyes holding the European Cup.
You definitely said that. I think you might have been. I wouldn't mind. I was over there and all my mates were wrecked out the head, and you weren't, and you came out with the most nonsense.
And then when Evra scored, I thought, oh my God, I'm onto something here.
Do you remember that 30 seconds or whatever it was? Mate, that was horrible. That. I remember it was limbs everywhere, everyone buzzing. I just remember looking up and seeing the Nemanja pointing at two players. Help me out, lads.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That was the best thing about the Moyes era, those 30 seconds. You mentioned there about the fact that the Scousers, recently have been struggling. Klopp not being questioned in terms of longevity, but, can he sustain it is being questioned. United are flying. How much sort of positivity do you take from that? How much confidence do you take from the fact that Liverpool are in an awful run? There's no sugarcoating it. You look at their last sort of 5 or 6 games. I mean, other than beating Villa's children, they've had a terrible time of it. And United, as you say, Paul Pogba's absolutely on fire. We're playing well. And even our bad result, we draw at Anfield, they're not that bad. So how much comfort do you take from that and positivity do you take from those sort of differing fortunes?
Obviously, when I saw him lose against Burnley, I was buzzing. But at the same time, it made me think they're going to come to Old Trafford with a point to prove. But having said that, I kind of thought that when we went to Anfield, I thought, they're going to, because they've had quite a few, like you say, I think 6 of their last 9 or 7 of their last 9 Premier League games have dropped points in. So they're dropping points all over the gaff, but that might refocus them in the FA Cup, because if you look at them over the last couple of seasons, they won the Champions League in one, they won the Premier League, and they started taking pictures with them both together, if you remember.
Do I remember, mate? I nearly threw up.
So if they win the FA Cup this year, I reckon they'll be doing the treble parade with all 3 of them. So it's very much, they've probably got something to aim for in that sense. So I still fear them and the players that they have, and they'll have, a massive point to prove. But there's no denying that they're not in a great place at the moment. They seem very predictable. And Burnley were so comfortable defending against them. And it's not just been Burnley, it was West Brom, it was Fulham, it was Newcastle. These teams, even Manchester United, whose defensive fortunes haven't been great at times this season, we found it easy to defend against them. And I think that's what, at the moment, they're becoming very, very predictable. And I think they just need, if you were a Liverpool fan, you'd be like, we just need a goal to go in off someone's arse at the minute. Like, just to get, you know what I mean? They look like that at the moment, but long may it continue. And hopefully we do take some confidence from that, because you always feel with the United games, like in the first half at Anfield, we were playing the occasion a little bit. Like, we weren't playing the game, we were playing the occasion. And if we play the game, not the occasion, we should be able to beat these lot quite comfortably.
100%.
In the form they're in.
100%. I mean, you mentioned there about Liverpool and the fact they've been struggling, and you know, I'm not going to deny it. I've watched a few of these games you're talking about. I watched the Southampton game. I watched the second half of that. I watched the Burnley game, and I've been amazed at how like this is a team that I'm used to seeing the likes of Salah and Mane just tear teams apart, and they just like you saying they're not even getting clear cut chances really. They're getting like I think Origi had one against Burnley, but other than that, it was just sort of like half chances, edge of the box chances, like what we did to them. And then you look at the flip side to that, and United and the way we're performing. And I just want to talk about us for a little while as well. Like United have sort of got into this thing now where, for me personally, you may disagree. We seem to be less reliant on Bruno. For so long, it was like Bruno. It's all Bruno. Bruno gets the goals. Bruno gets the assists. It all goes through Bruno. If Bruno don't turn up, we're struggling. Maybe you could throw Rashford into it a little bit, a certain degree. But then now you look at it, you look defensively, look a lot more solid. Not perfect, but a little bit more solid. And then your man there, Paul Pogba, has just been stepping up massively. I know you've been sort of a card-carrying member of Pogba FC for a little while. Do you feel a little bit, not vindicated, but how good is it for you to see him playing at the levels we know he can do?
I've seen some people tweeting and commenting that this is the best we've seen of Pogba. I don't think it is. I think we've seen him at this level before. I think we're just seeing it more consistently. And I think what he's shown that has maybe surprised a lot of people. Like, we know he can score those goals. Do you know what I mean? We know he can make those amazing passes. We know he can do all that. But his defensive work has been really good, I feel. And in games when, against Liverpool, you'd probably think, Ollie's not going to pick him today because he needs someone to do a defensive job. He might go with Daniel James or someone like that. And he's actually been going, Pogba's going to play. And Pogba's been doing the defensive duties if you look at his game. And I think that's the main thing. He's become more of an all-round midfielder. We all know he can do the fancy stuff, and if you want to call it that. But I call it the creative, the crafty stuff. Like, you kind of have to do that at times. I remember on the kickoff last week, like, Rory was screwing at him. He tried to make a diagonal pass against Liverpool, and he got cut out, and Liverpool broke on us. And I got it, but much the same with Bruno Fernandes. You want Paul Pogba to be trying those things, and a confident Paul Pogba is going to be doing that. And I think you've got to look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think, and his man management of Paul Pogba, because I think that's what is resulted in some of these performances. It could have gone west when Raiola came speaking out. Now, Paul Pogba probably still leaves, but the way Ole has handled it has been immaculate, I think. And now we're seeing the results of it. And I know you started the question with about Bruno and the reliance on Bruno and all that. I think Bruno was a catalyst for this team. I think he was like just a key cog that we need going into it, like in terms of just getting everybody going, picking the levels up, making sure everyone was covering every blade of grass, committed every single game. But even over the last year, Rashford has stepped forward and missed one game, Martial was, towards the back end of last season, not this season by any stretch, but, Martial was winning games. Cavani has been... So it's not always just been Bruno that has been stepping forward to win these games. He has just been a catalyst for it all, I think. And you're starting to see that now. And we need the goals to come from elsewhere. That's important. And that's why it's vitally important that Martial, Cavani, Cavani's already doing it. Greenwood add these goals to the front four, because Bruno can't do it every week. We need more players scoring goals, and Paul Pogba stepping up is vital. Gary Neville got. I don't often agree with Gary Neville, but he at the start of the year, he said Pogba's a key player for United this season, and he was kind of laughed at by Jamie Carragher, and he was spot on, because if Paul Pogba plays as Paul Pogba can play, United's midfield's the best in the Premier League, arguably. Do you know what I mean? So
no, I agree.
He's spot on, and I think if you combine that with what Cavani's bringing to the front line, Bruno, Rashford, hopefully Martial, Greenwood get back in form, we've got a lot to be positive about.
100%. I mean, I saw like that goal against Burnley. I didn't realise how good it was, because I saw a different angle from it yesterday, and his control, the way he gets sort of buys himself a bit of space, and then the finish, sort of using the defender to guide it around him. It was just immaculate. And
the first touch was,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you know what? And like, listen, Paul Pogba goes in the summer, but if he goes out on a high, I wish him well, man. Do you know what I mean? Because, and high, I mean like winning or something, because it's all about winning trophies. But he's been playing well. Other players have stepped up or need to step up a little bit as well. The ones you mentioned as well. It's great to see the likes of Cavani in that team as well, because he's a poacher as well, and he's an out-and-out striker who's always looking to get in that box. And I think we've lacked that a little bit sometimes. I know Martial has adapted that to his game, but he's not having the best of time of it, like you said.
Cavani's movement is elite.
It is elite. That's a good word to describe it, because
he makes chances for himself. Do you know what I mean? And his movement is constant. He's constant. Now, that means sometimes you'll fling a ball somewhere and it'll look like no one's there, but you need that movement. And I think you see it from him in one of the moves that kind of went a little bit viral when he wins the header.
Yeah.
It was a great, his movement is, and him working with Martial, Rashford, Greenwood, it can only be good for their games, man. Like, to have him in there. And I think his move didn't come with the fanfare of the Zlatan move, but it probably should have, you know.
Do you know what? I think you're right. I think part of the issue was because he was a free agent, people got it into their head like, oh, no one wants him. Like, you know, with Zlatan, it was like everyone still wanted a bit of Zlatan, and he like almost chose United over others. It kind of got the narrative with Cavani like, oh, he's past it. No one really wants him. He's been playing in the Farmers League. You know what I mean? Which is wrong. But I think it got a little bit of that. And because it was like, we delayed it as well. We didn't get him as quickly as we could have. But I've been amazed, like you were saying there, about his movement, his energy as well, and his effort. Like, because I know he's a talented guy, but you think 33 coming into the Premier League, it's not easy. He might struggle. But he's running around like a teenager. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, this guy, he looks like he's 21 years old. He really does. And obviously, if he keeps getting the goals, not just getting goals, but important goals as well. You look at the goals he scored; they've been vital. Some of them, the one at Southampton, of course, and the one you mentioned about against Burnley. Then this is exactly what we need. I want to talk to you as well about mentioning about trophies earlier. It's been a little
on Cavani though, yo.
Go on quickly.
Just a point on Cavani. People talk about Bruno as being this Cantona guy at United. Yeah, Cavani is probably the one they should be comparing. Ooh. If anyone is Cantona-esque in this team, because he will be that figure to these younger players around him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bruno's had a massive impact. I'm not kind of hear me out what I'm saying here, but if people love to compare players to past players, if you're going to compare anyone to Cantona, it should probably be the man occupying his old shirt at the moment.
You know what, you make a good point with that, because the difference that I've always said about Cantona and Bruno, when Eric came in, we just finished second. We'd had a bit of a patchy start to the league, but we had a very, very good team. You know, we had, if you look at that team, like 10 of those players were mint. Do you know what I mean? He was like the final piece of the puzzle, the one that sort of got the goals and led the line and stuff. Whereas when Bruno came in, we didn't have a great team. We were struggling. Martial was out. Pogba was out. We were over-reliant on likes of Pereira and Jesse and players like that who weren't playing great at all. But now it feels like we have a good team, and Cavani's like, I get where you're coming from with the Cantona analogy, because he feels like almost like that missing piece that we needed, which is what Eric felt like back in those days. And Jesus wept. If he has half the success that Eric had, then we'll all be buzzing.
One titles.
Yeah, all he's got to do, if he just wins 2 titles and one double, then I'll settle for that. Do you know what I mean? Because he's a little bit older. Talking of trophies, though, because it has been a bit of a barren spell for Manchester United in terms of trophies. I think we've got our longest run. I don't know the exact figures, for years. I mean, even when we were struggling in the 80s, we still won the FA Cup every couple of years. Post Fergie, we've won trophies until recently. You know, we've not won one since I think it was at the Europa. Yeah, Stockholm and the Europa League, which is what, 4 years ago almost. How important do you think it is for Ollie to get a trophy? And is this the obvious one to go for, the FA Cup? Because, you know, obviously you're in with a good shout of it.
As we know, my eggs are all in the 21 basket. So
just a bit.
It's hard. Like, they're so in that basket. I'm more nervous for Sheffield United than I am this Liverpool game.
That says it all. That really does.
But I love the FA Cup, and I was speaking to Webby about this on the video that we did.
Oh, so that's good.
You can go and check out after if you want, guys. But if you remember in that 99 season, and people have spoken about the 99 season because of us equaling their away record this week, which again is phenomenal. 17 away games unbeaten in the Premier League. If you look at that season, the FA Cup third round, you know what happened. Michael Owen scored.
Yes.
Right, York, Solskjaer towards the end of the game. And that game, I remember that, like, if you watch the game back now, you did, maybe, I don't know if I felt it at the time, maybe because I was 10 years old, you know what I mean? But the anticipation in the air of that game, the mood in the crowd, it was different. And I think that comeback, that game kind of set us up for the rest of the season. And it set us up for, you know, that kind of mood and coming back in games, and beating Liverpool in the cup can be a huge catalyst for your season. Huge catalyst. And, you know, I love the FA Cup. Simple as that. Whether we're playing Liverpool or Lincoln or Luton, I want to win it. So let's beat them. But I think that's what I would be saying to the players as well. And even if you look at your Donny van der Beeks and, I don't know, even Martial, who is not in my predicted 11, but like for him to get kickstart his season like a winner against Liverpool in the cup, like Donny van der Beek, a big performance against Liverpool in the cup. Maybe you're not on the bench no more.
Yeah.
So it could be massive for our season if we were to win it. And the catalyst, and that's not to say if we lose it, everything falls apart, but it could just give you a mentality switch.
You're right about that. That 99 season, the Ole last minute winner, and Phil Thompson, I said Phil Jones, and Phil Thompson on the pitch, and everyone chanting "Sit down, Pinocchio," because he was going mad about the free kick, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He was going berserk about the free kick. Honestly, that was one of the best days ever, mate. You're right, and you thought, hang on a minute, maybe something's kicking off here. And we just went on and just kept going towards the end of the season. And it was just fantastic. And listen, if you can't get up for a game against Liverpool, then there's something going wrong. You mentioned there about Donny van der Beek. I also want to talk about him as well, because he is sort of the player that everyone, if anyone was to question the tactics of Ole or the starting 11s of Ole, he's the player that keeps getting brought up. He's the one that most people seem to be going, what's happening with Donny van der Beek? Why is he not in the team? We need to see more of him, because he has looked good when we've seen him. And when you look at that, you mentioned it earlier about, you know, the FA Cup could be his option, or his chance, to show what he can do. Donny van der Beek, you know, is sort of a symbol of the fact that we've got a bit of a squad now. We have got options, and he seems to be one that sort of indicates that, because this time last season he walks into the United team, and now he can. Is that for you? That you're going to get a knock on the door in a minute? He walks in this team last season. He's not really getting a look in. Do you think that sort of Ollie's doing the right thing there? Do you think that maybe in the cups he should be used? Because like I said earlier, when we've seen him, he's played well. But then you go around and you say, well, you look at the midfield we've got a strong midfield as well. So it's sort of like a double-edged sword, because
if Martial was scoring, Cavani would be in the same situation. Simple as that, innit? Like,
yeah.
If you don't see Tellez either.
No.
Because Luke Shaw's performing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem Donny van der Beek's got. Now, me personally, I would have picked him a few more times, and, you know, I would have brought him on maybe earlier in a few games and things that I would have done that personally.
Yeah.
But then maybe United wouldn't be sitting top of the league, and like, do you know what I mean? So it's hard to say when you are playing well and you are top of the league. I do want to see him involved more. I do think this is the kind of perfect game to bring him in. It's a game that he would think, yo, we picked me for Liverpool at home at Old Trafford. These are the games I've come here for. And at the same time, it's still, you're resting your team, you know what I mean, for the Premier League. And Ollie may be able to give a Pogba or Bruno a rest, although I'm very doubtful that happens for the latter. So I'm not overly worried about Donny van der Beek and his time at United or his future at United. And I think he will get more game time as the season goes on. We don't get to see what happens on the training ground. We don't get to see all that. And I don't remember people saying the same things about Fabinho when he went straight into the Liverpool team. Do you know what I mean? Last season, they slowly bedded him in. So just take our time. Just take our time. What would have happened is if we played him in when the season started and he didn't play too well, or everyone then saying he's a flop. And I think you've seen Ollie kind of take his time with people. If you use Eric Bailly as an example, or even Luke Shaw and other people, like he's been patient with them. Eric Bailly, he could have easily rushed him back, put the pressure on, said this geezer needs to step up and be injury free now and not fuck up. It's his last chance, and really put the pressure on him. And he hasn't. He's just let him play his football, took him in, took him out when he's had to. I think Donny will get his game time. If I'm wrong and there's something between Ollie and him, then that's something else. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's that.
I don't think it is at all. And you look, he has had some games. I think he's played like 10 times in the Premier League, but like you say, he's not played a lot of minutes.
He's had 20 odd appearances.
That's what I mean. He's not like he's the forgotten man. So, you know, and look, if you look at, you just said it there, our midfield is probably the strongest in the Premier League. And Donny van der Beek isn't a sort of out-and-out defensive midfielder. So it wouldn't be like, oh, well, you play him in defensive midfield and then play Pogba and Bruno in front of him. A lot of the time, you know, it's going to be one or the other. So you look at the form of Pogba and the ability of him. You look at how Bruno's been playing and what he brings to the team. Then it's always going to be difficult for Van der Beek to get in there. And I think he's just got to be patient. I don't think there's an issue there. Ollie's spoken about it several times. Said, you know, he's got to be patient. He rates him. He's doing well in training, and there's not an issue there. So I think we will see Donny van der Beek for a little while. And like you said, you know, in the past we've perhaps been guilty of it at United. We've bought these players, thrown them straight in. You know, they've had a sort of done all right. You know, look at Memphis, for example. He threw him straight in. He did all right for a month or so, and then just fell off a cliff. Do you know what I mean? And like other players, like I don't know, Morgan Schneiderlin and players like that, just he never got going. So Ollie's obviously doing it a little bit gradually. We don't rely on that Van der Beek. It's not like we need to see him playing, starting every game because the midfield's performing. So I'm not worried. And I like the fact we've got options because you look at Van der Beek now, and if he does start, you're not going, oh, what the fuck's going on? Whereas last season, if certain players were starting, you're like, what's going on here? But we didn't have any options. Now we've got options. And it's because of that we've got options. You know, you mentioned Mason Greenwood as well, who's not been getting as many games this season as he was towards the end of last season. You've got the likes of Mason Greenwood. You've got likes of Axel Tuanzebe, who doesn't start a lot of games. And I think there's ability there to rotate one or two players and go for something like the FA Cup, because I'm with you, man, because some of my best memories as I read of the FA Cup, post even Fergie, you know, you look at the Everton game, the semi-final, that was one of the best moments ever when your boy there, Martial, got that winner. And it's always been a trophy. We've done well in it until recently, I think, until like 8 years ago, whatever it was, 7 years ago, we'd won it more than anyone. So I want us to do well. I want to see us lift a trophy, but it's a nice problem to have, the fact that we still have a chance of the league. So it's like, do you know what? You've got to do that balancing out, because no one thought that. No one thought that about halfway through the season, we sat on top of the table going, we need to focus on the league. We thought we were going to be focusing on the league. We thought we'd be focusing on trying to get top four, not trying to win it.
And my thing is this season's finally, I don't think it will happen, because like I said, I've looked at the fixtures and I've done some number crunching. But if you lose 2-3 games, you could, like, we're 6 points off Liverpool, who could be 6th, 7th in a week. Yeah. So it tells you all you need to know about the league this season.
I mean, people almost forgot about Leicester, didn't they? And then it was like the other day, it was like, hang on a minute, they go top if they win. I was like, what?
You always feel they'll just drop points, though, innit? And I think after last season, when they proper shit themselves, didn't they?
But I think that's it with Leicester. They had a few injuries, didn't they, last season? And then the wheels came off, like you said, they shit themselves. And I think when the season they won it, they didn't have hardly any injuries. I don't think they had any. I think they kept the same, more or less, 11 players every game, which is a bit of a freak. You're never going to be able to do that season. That was a bit of a one-off. So you get the feeling if they lost a Vardy or a Maddison, then they'd be in all sorts of trouble. But you never know.
That's another thing with Donny, you know. You see how these teams like Liverpool and all these are fucking playing the same 11 players every week, the ones that are fit.
Yeah.
At least you'll see 6-7 changes this weekend. And he is, I know we're all saying Bruno and Rashford need breaks and that, but I think we are less we're not killing our players as much. And if you look at Donny and that Tellez, maybe Ollie's just holding them back a little bit because he knows later on in the season I'm going to need some fresh legs. And who better to bring in?
You saw it last season. Towards the end of last season, the players look absolutely goosed, and at least now we've got some options, like you said. With that in mind, who have you gone for your predicted 11?
Dean Henderson in goal.
Oh.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Tellez. So I've given Shaw a rest. Fred McTominay.
Yeah.
Pogba, Bruno, Rashford, Cavani.
Pogba, Bruno, Rashford, Cavani, mate.
Yeah, I've gone to give Martial. I think what we need to start doing, is laying down. I kind of feel Martial being put out on the left isn't helping him.
No.
Because he's playing on the left and he's being judged on goals as a 9 from the left, which is wrong, but he needs to be judged on goals as he's on 9. So I think you just got to put it down to a straight up challenge, and just get a reaction out of him. I think you will. At the moment, he's lacking a lot of confidence, and it's his first time, I think, for a real sustained period. He's not looked confident in front of goal. You've seen glimpses in games where he's looked really sharp and he's looked skillful and he's done all the right bits up until he gets in front of goal. And I think we just put the challenge there a bit, sit on the bench, take some time out, watch Cavani for a bit, get in and score your goals. And I think you just got to do it.
It's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about that the other day, about one thing with Martial. No matter what, he never seems like to lack confidence for me up until recently. Like, I've always thought like he's the type of player for me who, if he misses a chance, he can shrug it off. He's got that sort of swagger to him. He don't really let it settle in his head or whatever. But I think it was the Burnley game where he was later on and he had that chance, and it just looked like a player who was just lacking a little bit of confidence, because he sort of just tried to hit the target. Go on, sorry.
I agree with you. I was speaking to Paul about this, because me and Paul obviously both love Tony, and I went,
yeah.
Because obviously most of the time when we have a conversation, mate, people are trying to wind me up, so it's not a real conversation. So people aren't giving their real opinions about it, so you can have a discussion. Do you know what I mean? And I was chatting to Paul, and I go, Paul, is it just, am I being biased, or has he just been incredibly unlucky at times this season? And he goes, he has been a little bit unlucky at times. His performance has been better than Marcus Rashford's, but because Rashford's getting the goals and he's getting the assists, which he's earned and he deserves, obviously you can get away with that. There's been times where his performance, like against Liverpool, for example, I thought he was the best of the front three. Like in the first half, every time he got the ball, he looked dangerous. He skinned them up a few times.
Yeah, he skinned
Trent.
In
the second half, he was the one to come off. And I got it because, Rashford and all them boys are scoring goals. So you kind of have to make that decision. But in that position, I would have probably kept him on because I thought he was playing well. And in those other games like Leeds, I thought he was amazing. And every time he got in front of goal, he just missed it. And you're thinking, what's going on with this fella? Like, every part of his game seems to be there. Like, holds the ball up well. He brings others into play. I think you get criticised a lot, and there's a lot of agendas out there. But if you watch him, a lot of his parts of his game is doing the right thing, and then it's just freezing. So I think just take him out for a bit. Maybe he needs some mental space. You don't know how people are in, with the way football is at the moment. Maybe they're not comfortable with it. You've seen a lot of players are not performing, but I think just challenge him. You've got to challenge him, and still starting him when he's out of form, and maybe that's not the right way to do it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. And I think with Martial as well, we've seen it in the past where he's sort of battled and forced the issue. He's forced his way into the team. Like when Sanchez came in and he was like, Jose was messing him about, dropping him and moving him about. And then he forced his way back into the team with the level of his performances. And when Ollie came in, he sort of forced his way into the team because he made that number 9 shirt his own. And I'm with you. I don't want to see him moved off to the left, personally. I mean, I think Marcus Rashford plays his best football there. And B, I think Martial, it's like a demotion almost. You've gone from the number 9 to being stuck out there. And I don't think he needs that. I think what he needs to do is, like you say, get his head down. We've got options now. Cavani's 33. He can't play every game. And just, maybe have a little bit of a breather, have a bit of a break, and then come in, because there's lots of games, lots of football to be played. And I still rate Tony Marshall. I'm not going to be like, I've seen some people losing their minds with him, and you know my thoughts on Tony. I think he's a great player, but he is out of form, and I think sometimes, you know, you just got to say, right, okay, it's not happening for you at the minute. Give you a break and bring you back in. And long term, I think Tony Marshall will carry on.
You know what we've missed a lot this season, though, as well, is, and he thrives off it, is that link-up play. That and when you notice a lot of it has been shoot like long-range shots and trying to work the ball into, you know, crossing positions, and he does. It's his fault. He needs to look at Cavani. Like, if you look, when teams sit in with 2 banks of 4, Cavani's fucking not stopping. Now, Martial will do the right thing and he'll be in the right positions and he'll be making his run, but he's not, you know, trying to make a bad pass a good pass and all the. And you've got to be able to do that. Like, you've got to be able, and you've got to be more greedy. Like,
yeah, I said that about greedy. Yeah,
frustrate us to fuck like, bro, pass the ball. You know what I mean? Like, I feel a lot of that link-up play has gone because Rashford's like that sometimes. But you know, if you got to be the same, then when you're in the 18-yard box.
He's got that ability as well, and you know, I've seen him in like the 18-yard box trying to play someone in or do a step over and let someone else behind him. I mean, what are you doing? Just you shoot. You can finish better.
When you need a goal as well. But that's good, and it's bad because it's good and it's bad because there's times where, you know, you see when he's running through with Cavani. You see when Rashford's running through with Cavani. You know, when everyone says,
you up on this now.
Not everyone. You know, for that split second that the pass was on,
that was
Martial releases it.
Yeah,
because he's not thinking about, I need a fucking goal all the time.
No,
and he needs to, you know.
He does, and he can get them as well. He's got that ability. It's not like we're trying to flog a dead horse here. A player who hasn't got it in his locker. We know he scored 23 goals last season, for fuck's sake. And what?
24.
24. Sorry. Whoa. Hey. And how many of them were penalties? One? Was it one penalty? So there you go. Because I know some people love this open play shite. So you know the guy's got it. I'm not worried, but for the time being, we've got a player who can score the goals. So he's scoring at the minute. So just pick him. For my starting 11, I don't think I did mine, did I? I've gone with David De Gea.
By the way, sorry, before you do yours, I said Fred and McTominay. I meant Van der Beek and McTominay.
Do you know what? I didn't even pick up on that, yeah, because you were talking about Van der Beek, weren't you? Right, Van der Beek and McTominay, not Fred and McTominay. I'm beginning to regret my team now. Now we've been talking about Van der Beek. I might have to make a last-minute change. I've gone with David De Gea, Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I just think with Eric Bailly, I don't see him playing like every few days, and Lindelof did really well against the Scousers last time out. I've gone with Matic, McTominay, Bruno, Pogba, Rashford, and Cavani. You've got a good point about Van der Beek, and he may well start. I mean, we're recording this before the press conference, Ollie's press conference, so Ollie may well have spoken about Van der Beek. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. I mean, I agree with everything you said about Rashford and about Martial. We spoke about that. Cavani. My only concern with Cavani is, can he play every 3 or 4 days? And at the minute, it looks like he can. He looks full of beans. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
He's the fittest man at the club.
That's what I mean, man. It's not like you're looking at him going, this guy needs a break or take him out of the firing line or whatever. Just keep playing him. He's playing like he is and he's scoring goals. He's full of beans. Just keep playing him. Rashford didn't start, obviously, against in midweek, sorry. So I think he'll come back into the team. Bruno, Pogba are pretty much undroppable. It's just that midfield. Maybe Van der Beek will come in. You might have got a good point there. I just feel that he might go with Matic and McTominay and place. Give them
have to play.
A bit of game.
I know we're talking about not panicking and we're like, you got. Come on, man.
Go on.
You got. It's a fine line between bringing it slowly, and just, if he doesn't play this weekend.
Van der Beek, you on about, yeah?
Yeah, like it's a bit sus, that, isn't it?
Do you reckon it is like where you start?
Yeah, but I get it. I totally get it in the league games. I totally get it. But if you look in the cup game, and I know this is Liverpool at home, but look at their form at the minute. Look at who we're going to be coming up against. Like, he has to be in. Because even I'm picking teams sometimes, and I'm thinking, Donny won't play. But I'm thinking, surely he has to play.
This is it's worth noting. This is our predicted 11. This is what we think the team's going to be.
He has to play. He has to play.
Well, I'll listen. Let's put it this way: if I'm wrong with my predicted 11 and Van der Beek does start, like I said earlier, I'll be happy with that I won't have a problem with that at all because he's a quality player. I don't know, man. I'm not sure, but we'll wait and see. We'll see what Ollie's got in store for us. Looking at the Scousers, I don't want to go on about them too long because we've spoken about them already quite a lot. Do you think Klopp's showing signs of a touch of the Rafa Benitez is in terms of he's going to be getting out his pieces of paper next and talking about facts? Do you see that? Do you think there is a little bit of a wobble there coming from him? Because he's always been a bit prickly, hasn't he? Anyway, people forget that and think he's always happy. He's not. Yeah. But lately, he seems to be extra sort of arsey.
I think he is. Not going to. I don't think he's gone to the extent of Rafa Benitez, but I do think he is a little bit rattled, and I do think he's a little bit angry, and I think that doesn't mean that they're finished. You know what I mean? Like, I think people almost think when your manager's cracked, they associate it with your team's fucked now because Kevin Keegan, Rafa Benitez, all that. But we've seen Arsene Wenger crack when they were successful. Mourinho do it. Fergie do, like, it happens. You know what I mean? It's how they deal with it and how they respond. The problem for him is he doesn't seem to be getting any response from his players. And if you look at his post-match interview after Burnley, he wasn't even very prickly. He was just like, "Oh, it's my fault."
Yeah, I saw that. Like, I was hoping for a bit of a meltdown, but he didn't.
Yeah, he was like, "It's my fault. Like, I've got to get the players more confident. I've got to get them playing better." And if you hear what he was saying, he can't be responsible for those things. Like, you can't be responsible. Well, you can in a certain way, but you know, for a player's confidence in that. But I felt like he was absorbing the blame there to try and take some pressure off his players, and I think his players are feeling it. You also think of, you know, how many games they've had over the last 2-3 years, the style of football, you know, the injuries that they've got. It's going to add up, but they're still a dangerous team. And against Burnley, they rested Firmino and Salah. So no doubt they'll be starting with a fairly strong front three. So it'll be interesting to see how they come to Old Trafford. But even with them on the ropes a little bit, I'd be wary. Because the worst thing United can do is Old Trafford. You think, fuck this, we're going to knock 3 different shades of shit out of these lot. And then they just absolutely dick us. Because they still have the ability to do that. And this is a game that can get their season going.
Of course it is. And historically with these games, they're almost like, I know they're not derbies, but they're almost that derby thing of like, we've had it in the past. You know, when I was a kid, Liverpool used to win everything. Yeah, we used to beat them a lot of the time. And then it switched and we used to win everything. But do you remember like when they used to come to Old Trafford and Danny Murphy would get a winner? And they
3 times fucking did that.
Mate, he's been dining out on that and if for the rest of his fucking life.
I remember, like, I never used to get tickets as a kid for Liverpool games. Yeah, very, very rarely would I get a ticket because I was a member and we used to apply and waiting for that envelope to drop.
Mate, those are the days.
And the few times I got them, the first ones, Murphy fucking 1-0, Murphy 1-0.
Like, hey, horrible. There's nothing worse than losing to them. Honestly, I think it hurts me more than losing to City. It does. I fucking hate it. And I remember that, and it was just like, yes, we might have won the league, but you know, it was just awful. But now, like I say, you know, it's sort of not role reverse because we've not won out yet. But you know, we're at the top. They're struggling, but you can never count them out. Like you said, they're like one of those teams, and it's one of those games, especially in the cup as well. And plus, sooner or later, they're going to fucking win a game of football. Do you know what I mean? They can't keep not winning with the players they've got. So hopefully it won't be against us, though.
Have they got a game against Villa's under 17s next week?
Villa's children, where you can bring on Thiago Alcantara to face some 15-year-old.
By the way, I know we're probably shooting our load too early here.
Go on.
But remember all that talk about certain number 6s and other certain number 6s?
Yes, I do remember it.
And some of them are bottling Burnley and some of them are coming up with winners. So,
do you know, it's like people have it in the drafts. You know, like, as soon as, like, Thiago does a pass, like, tell Pogba to step outside. And you're like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, what are you talking about? You never watched football. Why have you done that? I see it all the time. It's like any player under the age of 25 scores a goal. And it's like, tell Mason Greenwood to step outside. Like, what are you fucking shut up. Like, honestly, man. It does like, even when some United fans do it, I'm a bit like, oh, like sending for Kylian Mbappe. And you're
I've tweeted that a few times to Mbappe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to name you, but yeah, you have.
I was telling Liverpool and Klopp to come outside when we were 50. Look where it got us.
This is what me. My mate is a Liverpool fan. When we beat him at Old Trafford, when Marcus scored those 2 goals, I did a tweet and I was like, Klopp's a fraud, right? Mark my words, he's a fucking fraud, right? And my mate screenshotted it, yeah, and he used to inbox me with it, but then he got a job at Sky, so he can't tweet it out because he's got to be like, oh, professional. So I'm like, I got away with that one a little bit because after I tweeted that, they went and won the fucking Champions League. Right, go on, Mackie, give us your predictions for this game then.
Liverpool.
Oh, mate, yes. They always come back to bite you. But this is what it's about, man. Sticking your neck out, not just sitting on the fence.
Fuck them anyway. Henderson's shit. You don't count that title. No one was there.
Doesn't count.
What are we talking about now? Teams.
Your prediction score. Your predicted score.
2-1 United. Martial to score the winner off the bench.
Fuck, tell you what, mate. If he does, we're on the pitch. We'll draft on that.
I'm going to keep predicting him to score until he scores.
Sooner or later, man.
I think we need another prayer session, you know.
It works. We did that prayer session and it worked. We were talking about this the other day and we're like, can we do it again? No. We can't do it. We can't do it without McCollum. We can't keep doing it anyway. I think this might be one of those scrappy, cagey, shitty games. But I fancy us to win. I'm going to go with Edinson Cavani to get a 1-0 win. A win and a 1-0. Give it.
Is it settled on the night?
I think so, mate. Yeah, we don't do replays nowadays, do we, with everything that's going down? I think it's extra time and penalties and all that shit. So hopefully it won't come to that. But I don't care. Just beat them, man. I don't give a fuck how we do it. Just beat them. Scousers.
Imagine if like Firmino scores after 3 minutes.
No, mate.
And then 89 minutes, Martial scores.
I'll tell you what. 93
minutes, Cavani scores.
Do you know what, right? These are the types of games where people remember them forever. Like, you know, like when Berber got his hat-trick against Liverpool. All the goals that Berber got for us. Whenever I think of Berber, I just think of that hat-trick against Liverpool. And it's like, even Martial, like, whenever I think of him, all right, the Everton game, whatever. But his debut, I always think of his debut when he came on against Scouse and scored. These are the type of games, man, that you can make yourself into a right little legend. And if he gets the winner, he will be. Mackie, you're not here for us with for the watch along, are you? You're in that there, are you on your other thing? But you'll be giving us
Let's
a post-match
reaction. I'm Paddock, so everyone tunes in.
Yeah, Mac will be with us all day for the game. So once he's finished picking his posters up, who is that on the wall there?
Sorry, Georgie.
Georgie there, eh? But he'll be with us after the game, won't you? He'll be giving us your reaction. We'll also have all the pre-match stuff as well. We'll have Howson, we'll have Joe, we'll have myself, we'll have Andy Tate as well for the watch along. So make sure you're checking it out. You know where to find him over there. That's been Adam McCullough. I've been Jay Motti. This has been the Liverpool FA Cup preview. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe, and check out the members section if you're not doing already. Thanks for watching.
21's coming.